Hello and welcome to Roots from LNER. I'm Clara Amfo. Today on the show, self-esteem.
Like now I'll go to somewhere bougie for 2 weeks or whatever and I'll be so stressed about how much it's cost me and the fact that I'm supposed to be relaxing. There was a Robbie Williams impersonator called Rob B. Williams.
Of course.
I want him to support me on tour. He was fantastic. I've boiled it down to safety. All I'm doing is trying to make my art for as long as possible, and I want to make money, which equals safety.
Grab that window seat, reserve your spot with our seat selector. Visit lner.co.uk/reserve seat. Well, hello everyone and welcome to Roots from LNER. I'm Clara Amfo and today I am delighted to be joined by quite possibly one of the most creative people I've met. This woman is a singer, songwriter, composer, actress, painter, a designer, a director. Her 2021 album Prioritising Pleasure got her a Mercury Prize nomination and was one of the albums of that year. You may have seen her in shows like I Hate Susie, Smothered. She also did a glorious stint in London's West End as the Sally Bowles in Cabaret. She is, of course, Rebecca Taylor, aka Self-Esteem. I mean, babe, is there anything else you can't do besides be on this podcast?
Drive.
Neither can I.
Successful relationship.
I mean, we'll get into those troubles of life later. Welcome to Roots, Rebecca. How are you in this moment? It's 2025. It's a brand new year.
It's my first podcast.
Oh my
Sorry,
God.
I interrupted you there. It's not going well.
No, this is good. I'm glad I've got you whilst you're fresh in the podcast ether of this year. Talk to me about, I guess, your goals for 2025. Let's go straight into the deep end.
Well, I've actually got a triangle of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Oh yeah.
I do one of them every year.
I love it. We're going to straight
hang on,
there.
let me find it so my one for like the year before was Drag Race UK Judge, which you predicted.
Okay, yes, can I just say this on record? During my stint on Radio 1's Future Sounds, Rebecca came on. I think you were promoting...
Is that the second single?
I think it was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I always called it, I got the number wrong, didn't I?
No, it's called the 3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5. No, because you do count in it though, that's why. Sorry, to the 3, 4, 5.
No.
And you were like, I want to be a Drag Race judge. And I was like, that's absolutely going to happen. And you weren't quite sure.
And it did.
See.
And it says Hootenanny and it says Bake Off.
Did all
which
those?
I've not done yet.
Yeah.
And this year's one is quite... So at the top is Savage Fenty Style Empire.
Sell us some knickers.
Yeah, I want perfume, knickers, jeans with, wide enough bums to waist. I want to finally solve that issue for everyone.
Nobody wants the little gapping bit at the back.
Story of my life. Interesting acting job. I think I shouldn't really be reading this out. Highly respected music milestone moments. Because instead of saying I want to win a prize, do a tiny desk. I've never done anything in America really yet.
That would be fabulous.
I mean, surely. Buy a flat. Exercise.
I think all of those things are so possible.
You think that?
I believe in you.
I'm going to do it all apart from exercise, probably.
and that's okay, because sometimes you can't be bothered.
It's hard.
And it's all right, babe. It's all right.
But yeah, sorry, that was a long form answer. I'm doing good, and this is my plan. What's your plan?
Oh, God. Not the guests turning around on me. What I want to do this year, I want to host a really fun, dark quiz show. I want to get my book out. I want to travel more. I want to see the pyramids. I'm desperate to go to Egypt.
Yeah.
I want to see the pyramids. I want to make sure my mum's okay. And that's about it. Not that much, really.
No, it's good. We can do it.
And just, work outside of the UK. Those are my goals.
It's happening.
It's all happening. Okay, but back to you. Uno reversing on me. How very dare you. My own
I'm
podcast.
genuinely interested.
Oh, God,
I was like, we're not on a podcast anymore.
No, I appreciate it. She's an empath, guys. She feels. She's interested. So today on Roots, we are off to Retford. So tell me about Retford. Where in the UK is it for people that don't know and awful southerners like myself?
Well,
educate us.
I don't even know. I don't think so. I'm not from Retford, but I'm from between Rotherham and Sheffield. But the train to Sheffield is sort of 2 hours and a bit. But then there is a train from London to Retford that's an hour and I was thinking there's one that's an hour and 20. And if you've got a dad who is sick of doing it but picks you up if still, my dad will drive there and picks me up from Retford, and then it's about half an hour drive. So you're on a train for less time.
And I think now, instead of like huffing and puffing about it, my dad quite likes picking me up.
Quality time.
So I go to Retford. So it's Nottinghamshire. I say Sheffield, but I'm from I'm in the middle of a weird bit of the world. That was a long answer. But Retford, little station, swear by it.
What are your first memories of it?
What just came to mind then is the amount of times when I was living in London in like flat shares and stuff in my 20s and having a terrible time, and anything that went wrong, I'd go home. I had a really nasty boyfriend, like the one that changes the course of your, and now we know them to be narcissists and stuff like that, but we didn't know then. And I just got on a train and got to the station, and I was like a real mess, and I was all ready to burst. I was on the edge of tears, and my dad was going to pick me up, and I thought, it's just, my life's awful. But my dad had grown a goatee, like for the first time, unannounced. So I got to Retford, and then my dad had a goatee suddenly, and I laughed instead of cried at Retford station.
I love that. Your father's facial hair healed your heart.
Really? Yeah. It was like, I really believe in the universe, and like things happen, and they send when they need to be. And my dad's sudden desire for a goatee, they didn't last long.
But it had to be there for the time to help you get away from this awful person.
Yeah. So I just had no money and living on the edge my whole 20s, and I really wanted to just. I'm not someone who's like parents sort. They don't help me do all the time and stuff like that. But like when you have to just go home. So there's a few memories of crying on that London to Retford train. I've even got a lyric about it on my new album, about crying on a train to Retford.
But obviously we can't share that because that is exclusive.
You can say, we can keep that in.
Oh, okay.
We can keep that in.
Okay,
people
fine.
know there's an album coming.
In happier times, do you remember those first trips to London, like Son's The Boyfriend?
Yeah, I think. So I was in a band for years, where like from 18, and I think we used to drive down because we couldn't get 2 train tickets. We had to drive, but then. Yeah, London, it was so exciting and still is to me, actually. I love it. You from London?
I am.
Yeah.
When I speak to my friends who, especially creatives, who have left wherever they've come from to make a life here, it's really interesting to hear how it's perceived. Like, would you always say you're one of those people that felt, not that you were better than anyone in your area, but you felt too big for your surroundings? Were you that
something
person?
like that? It felt like I had to go and do this. I don't feel bigger than Sheffield, but I did know I had to go. And used to watch on the telly like The Biz and anything that like Sylvia Young and stuff like that, and I'd like curse my parents for not. I just always knew what I needed to do would be in London. But I went back recently and spoke at my high school at their presentation evening.
What was that like?
I mean, mortifying. But again, for therapy, interesting, because they'd done this whole VT of, my best bits or whatever from my career, and everyone was just really lovely. And I was like, oh God, stop it! I'm showing off. Like, it's so weird how I can't enjoy it. But
would you say that's quite a Sheffield thing?
I think mentality? So. I'm starting to realise that. I think being a woman, a working class woman from a place like I'm from, I think that's harder than ever to be like, yeah, I'm the tits. I think all the blokes have got bravado, but I think, I'm working on it though. Sometimes I've got it and then it's annoying.
but I think it's everything in moderation.
Yes,
I think.
True.
What was the creative scene like for you in Sheffield, like when you were coming up?
So the Arctic Monkeys had happened. So there was suddenly this, I've said this a lot, but like it did suddenly feel like you could come from there and go global, but again, really bloke heavy. So it was all right. We didn't really fit in. Me and the guy I was in the band with, like, he'd play guitar. He's an amazing guitarist. And then I stood next to him playing like a kick drum, and I used to like rattle the back of a chair with a stick and be like, oh God, so mortifying. But
giving us Beat a Meg White.
Yeah. It was like folk right stripes kind of thing. And I tuned up bottles of water and dinged them.
Okay.
Yeah, I
get it.
In like a vintage dress.
Sure.
But drew attention, and people would like, and I quickly stopped doing that kind of thing and got a guitar. But I always say Sheffield we weren't in part of the scene, but because it was cheap enough to go to a practice room, and because there was a respect given to music in the city that, it felt like we did it a lot. We rehearsed, we played a lot. There was a lot of venues. We got better by playing a lot. So I always credit it with that.
Well, it's interesting that how you even described that, and just thinking about the current music scene, because you even speaking like that seems almost radical now because so many people have blown up on social media rather than actually
I know.
gigging and being outside.
I don't give myself credit for how old and long I am and how long I've been doing it. Because I sometimes feel so behind it. And I'm like, of course I feel behind it. I'm still like an album artist. I still want to do it in the same, like, because when I started it, that's what there was MySpace. And I got as to grips with the internet as I could, but sometimes I do feel daft.
No.
But I think it's fine. I think it registers with other people that feel daft.
Listen, one thing you are not is daft, my friend. Like, at all. And I think there's also nothing wrong with still loving being an analog girly in a digital world.
Well, as AI comes,
Correct.
I'm just going to still be there singing my songs.
Trust me, the revolution against it all is upon us. So you'll be the leader. Trust me.
Thank you. I feel that.
Going back a little bit, I want to talk to you about your holidays as little Rebecca with your dad, with or without goatee. Like, where were you going as a kid up and down the UK?
Yeah, we always went to Filey, which I think is on the same line, maybe, or you can get on it. And it's East Coast. Seaside. My grandparents knew had a caravan there, and we used to go there 2 weeks every year. It's still like, I kind of have a little dream of getting a little house there, you know what I mean, to write and paint in and stuff. Last year, my mate now has a little girl who's like 6 and like is blonde and dances and obviously I'm like in lieu of having children, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like a new place for me to see myself. And my ex actually and my mate's partner, and Alice, we all went to Filey in a caravan. It was amazing for a week.
That sounds very wholesome.
Yeah, but it's wholesome and like it was dramatic for me and sort of poignant. I get a lot out of that coastline. It's beautiful.
I guess because with your career, you know, it's taking you all over the world. Does going back to those places, I guess, I don't know, like restore you? Is it a sense of balance for you being somewhere like that? Or do you feel like, not that you're regressing, I think that's the wrong word, but do you feel like, oh, okay, I'm back here again?
I think there's some, I don't know, this might not come out right, but like now I'll go to somewhere bougie for 2 weeks or whatever, and I'll be so stressed about how much it's cost me and the fact that I'm supposed to be relaxing and it's somewhere new. Sometimes the familiarity breeds the comfort that I need to relax, I think. And like, I'm better off going to my mum and dad's house for a week than I am going to Hawaii, I think. Not that I want that. I do want to go to Hawaii as well.
I mean, who wouldn't? No, but that totally makes sense.
I think it's like my nervous system, Filey, Anston, like the place, yeah. I do feel it's like the noise goes quieter for me, and that's where the relaxing, it might be possible.
Such a good point you make there, because I think, you know, if you're lucky enough to go away on holiday anywhere outside of the UK or anywhere a bit bougie, fancy, whatever, you can waste so much time thinking about, gosh, that was an expensive flight or this accommodation. And then you don't actually switch off. No. And then I think you almost need a holiday after a holiday. I
think it's more for me, it's more like, so if I go to this, you know, we went to Crete for 10 days. I sat and it was great, but the only difference is I read a load of books and you eat what you want a bit more, and we swam in the sea and there was sun. And I'm like, okay, that's all I need. I can do that in anywhere, really. It's more like what a holiday makes me do rather than the places. But I don't know if I've not done enough holidaying. I've only just started.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you remember the first time that you went abroad?
Yeah, so we my dad must have got a bonus or something. We went to Tenerife. I do remember it being very exciting. And I was just old enough to I had like little boobies, and I was like, you know what I mean? I was just starting to, there was like a boy in the pool that would like play with me, and I was, you know, it's very a fizzy time. I've probably only been like 13 or something, but but we didn't like it. My mum and dad were too hot all the time, and like I love entertainment, and you know, mum and dad don't like that, so it was a bit of a mistake, I think.
Were you that kid enjoying the in hotel entertainment?
Yeah, I still love that. You know, my favorite sort of thing is like an entertainer. I love it. I love like show people doing a turn. And when we went to Filey last year, there was a Robbie Williams. There was a Robbie Williams impersonator called Rob B. Williams.
Of course.
I'm going to try and get, if you're out there, I want him to support me on tour. He was fantastic.
You've been quite vocal, I think, and been quite good at explaining your relationship with fame and maybe the indirect pursuit of it, and I guess what we perceive success to be, especially like when Prioritise Pleasure like blew up, because some people thought that was your first album, and it wasn't, and I think a lot of people are like, hang on, who's this, where did she come from? And you could see how your life was like shifting in front of our eyes. Like, how do you look back on that time now you've had a bit of time to chill and make new stuff?
I mean, I think at the time my partner at the time was like, you are going to burn out and you are not going to be okay. And I was like, it's fine, I'll say yes to this. And they were totally right. I kind of don't remember it. It's mostly like a lifetime, an adult lifetime of yearning to be the person that people want to talk to and invite them to things and tell them they're good. And the reviews for the album, it was so, I just couldn't comprehend it. It was like everything I ever wanted. And I felt like, yes, I deserve it. I've been making good work for all this time. It's difficult in this really weird way that I still can't really, I'm obviously not doing a good job of describing. But I think I've boiled it down to safety. All I'm doing is trying to get, I want to make my art for as long as possible, and I want to make money, which equals safety. So as soon as I was visible, I've always just been like being myself. And then, it was the very first time anyone, there was a wider audience having an opinion on me. That is a shocker. It's really weird. I'm hoping I'm more prepared because as much as I want to go, oh, the reviews, everyone telling me I'm amazing, the parties, and then you get one message saying you're this, you're that, and it was flooring me to start with. I'm trying to be more prepared, but overall, it was great. And now I know I can I'm going to do this show for my new record, and I can confidently put that on sale and know that will happen. Things like, what happened was I was saying yes to things that I'd formerly never got a look in with. And then by the time that would come around, I'd sort of bypassed having to do that. And then I was saying yes to something sort of bigger and more exciting. So you got a sort of 6-week lag at all times. So it just ended up, and you can't say no. So yeah, it was a lot. It worked, but I got myself into a bit of a tizzy, to be honest.
I mean, you seem definitely more untizzied now. Like, there seems to be a calmness about you.
Thank you,
and
Clara.
this approach to the
highest compliment.
No, but it's true, because I think it's such a funny thing, isn't it? I think regardless of whether you do a job that's got a mic in your hand in front of the camera, or like, you want to be a doctor or a vet or whatever, like, there's one thing having a dream and an idea and a concept of what you think you've always wanted, but then having to actually live it once you finally get it is a whole
well, you never think it's going to happen, so well, no, I've always been determined. I always knew I'd get somewhere, but it's a different thing when it's here. So I've done a lot of work. Like, I did cabaret, which was such a tonic because I was still feeling, I was still being creative, I was still being emotional, but it was a smaller and quieter life, even though I'm like the lead in a musical. I got a semblance of a home life and stuff like that. And I also think I'm, getting older and figuring out what I actually enjoy versus I think I've never been invited to a do, all the do's we have to go to.
A little do.
There's like a gang of us that have to go to the do's, and I see us all. And I didn't work, at first I was like, yeah, I'll go to that. And then some of them are really hard and social anxiety. Boring. Yeah. And my social anxiety is like whoop, whoop, whoop. And, so I drank more and I'm partying more, and against my will, and just stuff like that. I think it happens to a lot of people that suddenly are more visible. I hate saying famous because I don't think I am, but it suddenly was a thing. And I'm hoping on this time around, I know what I actually like to do. And you'll still see me at the do's if it's worth it. Yeah. But I was like, envelope opening, see you there. I still had the mentality of if I could get free food and drink, I'd say yes. And so I just did a bit too much of that. Yeah. And got myself.
No, but I understand that scarcity thing also, because again, when you work so hard for something and you finally get it, there's also the big fear about, oh my God, but what if it goes away?
Honestly, I'll be like, no one's inviting me. I haven't seen an envelope open in so long. Oh God, I'm over. I'm old news. I'll be like that in 6 months, but we'll see. You're
still here. I love how you describe your time during cabaret, because I guess it's essentially the creatives equivalent of doing a 9 to 5, isn't it? A West End show, because you've got your set time when you're going in and you know your lines, and then you're going home.
Wig on. I didn't have to think about what I was wearing. Oh, it was stunning. That's what I'm trying to do now with self-esteem, because touring is getting harder and harder for me to do.
I did want to ask about that. Yeah, just the flip side of not having a routine.
Yeah, I think I've spent my life being like wanting no routine, and then the one thing that makes me the most sane person is routine. So I'm trying to, how do we sort of cabaretify my touring experience? So I'm like, I want to turn up, you put the wig on my head and I do the job. And that's I start work at the, half an hour before the show.
Yeah.
Because it just got a lot. One of my girls has to go to a christening, so we don't have her that week. And I'm like, oh God. Like, it's those sort of things that actually rise my like blood pressure. And by the end of the Prioritising Pleasure tour, we were like, again, I had no budget at the start of that. So we've got these like little steps made out of wood and painted to look like marble, and we're still pushing them on. And I was headlining Green Man by the end of the tour, but I would no time and no time to execute anything bigger. So I was like going on after bands with huge productions. We were just pushing the steps on and wearing like our ASOS leotards. Like, so it's that sort of thing I'm trying to get away from. The routine of cabaret, I'm like, how do we somehow bring that to a touring person promoting an album? So yeah, so I've got a show director to collaborate with on, so it will be his job to kind of figure out what we do if someone's at a christening, and like say I'm going to do like blanket sort of uniform that we wear for every show. I'm not thinking on my feet ordering like 10 leopard print things from Nasty Girl, which is what I was still doing on Prioritising Pleasure.
A resourceful queen.
Oh yeah.
Gotta respect it. And when it comes to the sort of venues that you're looking at touring in the future and type of places you want to go in the UK, like, where are the places that I guess make your heart sing? Maybe some more than others that you want to...
I love touring the UK. I mean,
right.
I've not really toured anywhere else with Self-Esteem. I've really focused on it. I've been touring a long time as well. So Scotland has always been, right since Slow Club days, the best place. I love it. I love playing anywhere in Scotland. Sheffield is obviously always... Do you know what? It didn't used to be as triumphant in Slow Club, and I feel like I've got an identity finally about where I'm from, and the city sort of... I don't know, it just feels like even if you don't like me, you come and see it. I don't know, I've just got this nice... I just get a nice like homecoming feeling there, which is what I always wanted.
More canonical bras?
Yeah. The Meadowhall bra maybe did it. Maybe, that made sense to... My manager was like, no one will understand this. And I was like, you wait. And then...
The people loved it.
Yeah. And London. I love playing London just because it's just like the biggest gig. I love playing Bristol loads. But honestly, there's nowhere I don't like playing in the UK. And now, you see, we're in the buses with the beds. So that's made a big difference because I can just go and have a nap.
How were you travelling before?
I was still in like a splitter van and then like walking around Topshop, waiting. Well, I'm going to show my age again. Yeah, you're there at 3, you sound check, and then you're not until 10. And it was like, and nowhere to just be private. So yes, now I can go in my own little coffin and, put my podcasts on.
You can listen back to this episode.
Listen to every podcast I've ever been on. Yeah, it's made me a bit happier.
Well, no, but you've worked hard for the comfort. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's still not even that comfy. My tour manager, first time we had a bus, he went, oh, this one's a bit small. And I was like, what? Oh, it's never enough.
Oh, sorry.
You never get. Like, you can be on the best bus you've ever been on. There's always a better bus. I mean, that's the metaphor for what I'm always on about. It's my songs, actually.
But this is it. We're always chasing the elusive thing that we think we want, then we get it, then we want something more, and then more and more and more. Okay, so with all this chat, I think it's safe to say there is new music coming this year.
Yes.
How much can you legally say without us getting in trouble with your management and everyone in your team?
I mean, I don't really know. I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I've made a big bastard of an album that will come out at some point this year, and I'm just getting myself ready to do all that again.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. You've made this big bastard of an album, as you say. That really needs to be like on the press pull-out quotes. Big bastard of an album.
Becky's big bastard album.
No, I would happily co-sign that quote. How do you go about making a record like this when you're so aware, as we've spoken about the great feedback you got with PP and all of that? Like, how do you tune out everyone's adulation and just get back to you, Rebecca, and what you want to do?
Yeah, it's been hard. I refuse to, everyone's like second album syndrome, and I'm like, well, firstly, it's not my second album, so I don't have that. It is. I think it's perfectly human to go, God, how do you ever ever do that again. And what I realized is I just stopped trying to do it again. It's like sonically and sort of emotionally on it, it's not the album you think I'm going to do after a successful pop album, right? So, and in a way, if you do a bit well, then it's like, okay, so let's dilute it down and go global. Like the only way to be a huge global artist mostly is to make it more appeal to more people. And I was like, well, it's a given. I can't physically do that really. So it's sort of that bypassed any worry about trying to do it again, because I'm like, I wasn't trying to anyway.
just do me, babe.
Yeah, it is. It's a sister record to Prioritize Pleasure, though. That you see a lot of links, and I always wanted to do 3 albums as a sort of trilogy. So production wise, that's it now for those styles of record, that style of record. I kind of wanted to go to the last Self-Esteem album, but no one's letting me do that. I'd do another album, Rebecca Lucy Taylor era. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But apparently that's not good on the old Spotify.
I feel like your fans won't let you do that for a little while.
I mean, I'll always be self-esteem, but it does go somewhere. It's a different thing in my mind, and I think next album is, you know, it'll be a bit more merged. I don't know.
But at the same time, also, I mean, I joke about your fans where you do whatever. I always think your fans like you because you do what you want.
I realise, like, I don't know if you get like this, but like, you assume there's like something that you're selling really, and you have to give that, and you can't deviate. And then this album talks a lot about like, oh, I'm going to deviate. Like, of course I am a human being. I'm going to change. I'm not consistent. Like, and then you do it, and then people are like, oh, okay, cool. We'll have this. Nice one. You know what I mean? I assume so much about what people want, and then agonize over not giving it them, and then people are just happy to hear what you've done.
No, truly. And I'm sure that whatever tour that you may or may not be announcing will be full to the rafters of your most dedicated fans.
I really hope so, because I'm going to lose a lot of money if it doesn't.
Hashtag save Rebecca. What about outside of the UK? I mean, you mentioned, you love touring the UK. You in America, what's your relationship like with the good old US of A at this point?
My management are like, please go. just go for a bit. It's me. We did it a lot in Slow Club, and these like 10-hour drives across middle America to play to 5 people. And, it felt like the boys in the band were just loving being in America, but I really suffered, and I felt really scared all the time. And I see now, I used to think, God, am I just annoying and, harsh in their vibe? But now I understand why, as a woman, I was scared to be out there. And do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm a bit traumatized by going. And I do think, like, my album, post-Trump getting in, my album has a whole different feeling. Some of the songs that, like, even I was like, oh, God, it's horrendously pertinent now. Like, so I will go. And now I'm surrounded by my girlies. Like, I'll probably have a nice time. But, yeah, I've said another year. So, and then I want to be on EastEnders.
Okay, let's talk about you and acting. Loved you in Smothered. Loved your stint in I Hate Susie. I'm gutted I missed you in Cabaret. Truly, I'm gutted I missed that. At this point, what is your relationship like to being an actor?
Well, like, I think because I wanted to go to drama school at 18 and I didn't get in and all that. And I think it's quite perfect that I have this like day job, which is self-esteem, and I built that and I care about it. And it means that acting doesn't become, because, all my buddies that are acting, it's pretty horrendous. Like the wait for someone to say yes. And the way it's not, I know I would struggle with, you can be the best person, but you don't look right. Like that's, oh God, that's crunchy. Like,
hard relate.
Yeah. Oof. Like, I don't know if I can live like that. You know what I mean? So I'm so lucky and privileged to be in a position now where if I do more, it's a bonus thing. It's not paying my bills. And I can be choosy. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I think I'm a very good actress, right? So, but it's still like approved a bit on Cabaret, but it's, I'm still getting offers of things or offer auditions and stuff. And there's some proving to do. I want to be very good. Do you know what I mean? I don't just want to be like, I'm not going to name names, but there's some pop stars that get put in films too early before they've cut their teeth. And I really want to take my time. And also the thing about acting is I can be 50 and 60. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can be self-esteem at 50 and 60. I can do a whole other podcast about how I feel about women in music over 40, but I don't think I'll want to be in the bus as I become an older lady. So I'm looking at it as this like long project that I'm excited to learn something else. I was trying to figure out, why does it excite me so much? It's like, it's just because it's different. And I emotionally, I can use all of how much blood is running through my veins going to waste. Putting that through the lens of somebody else when I did cabaret was healthier for me than, selling my trauma like I do in self-esteem.
I would call it sharing your trauma to the masses that just happens to have some monetary return.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true. And I'm happy to. I share it and I go, I feel like this. And a load of people go, I feel like this too. And it's, it heals me, but it's a lot for my head over the years. So,
well, Rebecca, you make sure you stay taking care of yourself.
I do now.
Yeah.
Only just. I do.
Okay, I mean, I'm going to ask most baked cliche question, but what are you doing to prioritise your pleasure?
Hey, a classic.
At this point in time, like, what are you making sure that you do to make sure that your future is always going to be okay?
Yeah, I mean, I started brushing my teeth properly, I did brush my teeth. But are you those little brushes in between? You doing that? If you don't do that, let me tell you, you should be doing that. I didn't know. There was a gum situation we were close to, and I was like, "What? I didn't realize this." So I know, and I took. So when I went back to the dentist, I've told this story already on another podcast. I went back and I've really like sorted it out. And I've got like really good teeth again. And the joy I got from that and my discipline and my choice to do something that's good for me. So I want to apply that to the rest of my life. So, I'm eating better. I'm drinking less. I'm sleeping more. Doing a bit of like not saying in my social life and even my personal relationships, like weighing up. Am I doing this because I think this person wants me to do it? Am I doing it because I want to? Together. Just all the basic things really that happen around 37, 38. Basic
but vital, babe.
Yeah, and I love it. Do you know what? I think that's the difference. Not one bit of me feels like I'm boring. Like, I'm not jealous. The thing is, right, I'm making this album, and when Brat happened, right, so I'm in the studio last summer, and a lot of my songs are saying, just keep going, try your best. I'm sort of selling the idea of okay, right, on my album. I've sort of had this epiphany that I think like get up, boss bitch, and CEO hours, like that's
girl bossing a bit too close to the sun.
Yeah, I think that's not great for you. I think like sometimes aiming for just an all right day is where I'm at a bit. But making songs like that, and then Brat comes, and I was like, oh God, what? I sound like such an ass. I sound like such an old lady. I sound really. Just like, oh, no one wants that. I was like, oh God, it's really mortifying. But then I realized every brat turns 38 and all brats will need to drink a bit less eventually. So, and that's when they'll find my album, I hope.
They will all stop bumping that eventually.
I mean, look, I'm not adverse to being a brat, but I'm bratting way less. I'm more than happy to.
And
my music reflects that.
No, and I truly love that for you. Rebecca, aka Self-Esteem, thank you so much for joining us on Roots. And don't forget, dear listener, there is new music coming very, very soon. So keep an eye and an ear in whatever body part else you want out for that. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. And if you liked what you heard, because obviously, how could you not? Why not rate and review and give us a follow wherever you get your podcast. Also, look out for Self-Esteem's Quiet Coach episode, which will drop next week. We're going to be hearing all about her travel snacks, tracks and hacks and the places that have inspired her and changed her precious life. Until then, see you at the next stop. Grab that window seat, reserve your spot with our seat selector. Visit lner.co.uk/reserve seat. Roots from LNER, a distorted production